Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is Tosif, and I'm back with a new live stream. Thanks to those who already tuned in, and I'm hoping that over the next um, several minutes or so, more of our friends will be tuning in. Hopefully, we will get new viewers, people who will hopefully discover this channel, this live stream for the first time, and decide to become subscribers. That's always the goal. We try to spread our message by growing the size of our community. I've said that a million times, my friends, and we continue to grow, and you can see the numbers. Okay, so my friends, we will talk about what's going on in the country. And we'll talk about Los Angeles because Los Angeles is where the focus seems to be. Okay. All eyes are on Los Angeles right now. And in fact, right before starting this live stream, I was watching the news. So actually in the other room right now, where my TV is, in the other room, um, I have decreased the volume so it's not going to interfere with my live stream, but the news is on. The news is on right now in the other room. The TV is on. The news is on, and I was watching all those live images coming from Los Angeles, not just Los Angeles, but also New York, and I'm going to talk about that. So uh, let's get started with the discussion here, and I'm happy to see our friend Frank is here. Hello, Frank. Evelyn is here. So Frank is from Florida. Evelyn is from Las Vegas. So wonderful to see you both. And I hope that more of our friends will be joining. Okay. Claudia Greenwood. So good to see Claudia Greenwood. Jim is here. Jim is here from Chicago. Jim, good to see you. Thank you so very much, friends. Please make sure that you are actively participating in the live chat. I want to hear your thoughts, your opinions on things that we are going to be discussing tonight. Okay, there's a lot to talk about. I don't know how long this live stream is going to be. Is it going to be half hour? Is it going to be 1 hour or more? I don't know. We'll stay here for as long as we can. We'll stay here for as long as we need to be here. And so let's continue the conversation and let's get started. My friends, the Trump administration is trying to bring back peace to Los Angeles. That is what I can tell you to summarize the efforts of the Trump administration. Plain and simple. I know there are a wide variety of opinions out there. Different people are saying different things. Some people strongly support Donald Trump and his administration. Others strongly oppose Mr. Trump and his administration. There are others who are sort of like trying to figure out still what's going on. Here's my opinion. Very, very simple. In simple language, DSAR is here. Hi, DSAR. Good to see you. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Hope you're doing well. Plain and simple, let me tell you what is going on. The Trump administration, and by administration, I mean Donald Trump, his Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, and others who are part of the administration. What are they trying to do? Plain and simple, the Trump administration is trying to bring back peace to Los Angeles. Real peace, not just temporary peace, not just peace for a few days, few weeks, you know, real peace, lasting peace, not just um, absence of conflict. Yeah, when you are able to end the conflict, when you're able to end the violent clashes, that's the end of violent clashes. But that doesn't necessarily mean lasting peace. Donald Trump and his team and his administration, they're trying to bring long lasting peace to Los Angeles. But it will require more work and more resources. It's not going to be easy because years and years of left wing policies have really caused severe damage um, to the Los Angeles area. Okay. The public safety situation, the housing situation, everything, the economy, um, and just the overall economic climate. People don't feel safe in Los Angeles anymore. People don't feel safe. Okay. Yes, a lot of people live in Los Angeles. A lot of people live in Los Angeles because it's a big city. But in Los Angeles, a lot of people feel like they are stuck. They want to get out. They want to move. They want to move to, Texas. They want to move to, Utah. They want to move to Florida. They want to move to, other places, but they can't. They are stuck. And what Donald Trump and his team, what they're trying to do is bring long-lasting peace, peace that will make people enjoy living in Los Angeles. Okay. But as I said, it will require more work and more resources. And let me tell you this, and I know that my friends here, you are you're all well informed. You pay attention to stuff. Okay. I mean, there's a reason why you are taking time out of your busy schedule, night after night, week after week. You tune in for these live streams and you share your thoughts, you engage in the conversation, and you care about this country. You want peace, you want to protect your rights, you want to protect your freedom. And that's why I know that you are well informed. Okay. The people who are part of this online community that we have, they pay attention, they are well informed. So you probably know this already, what I'm about to tell you. And that is that there are evil forces out there who are still actively trying to spread chaos. Chaos in Los Angeles, chaos in the United States, chaos in the world. There are evil forces out there. And we can see from the events of Los Angeles that the evil forces are very actively trying to spread the lawlessness. The evil forces are trying to spread unrest. The evil forces are trying to sow the seeds of chaos. And that is why it was so important to bring in the National Guard. I know that depending on who you're talking to, different people have different views on this. Like some believe, oh, the National Guard was not needed. There are folks who say that. I was watching TV, as I told you, and I was switching channels. I was listening to the conservative voices. I was listening to the liberal voices on TV, and some were saying, basically not directly quoting them. I'm just telling you a summary of what they were saying. They were saying that National Guard was not needed, that this is just an overreaction, and that the police, the local police, could have handled that. The police, the sheriff's department, they could have handled that, and that National Guard was not needed. But let me tell you, President Trump made a tremendously great decision by bringing in the National Guard, by federalizing the National Guard soldiers and bringing them in and deploying them. An excellent decision, not just an excellent decision, it was a timely decision. In cases like this, if you delay, all right, if you think, oh, should I deploy the National Guard or not? How about give it 24 more hours, see how things go? Well, in those 24 hours, the amount of property damage that could have taken place could have been widespread. Could have been widespread. There could have been fires everywhere in Los Angeles. But President Trump prevented that from happening. President Trump made the great decision of bringing in the National Guard and then also mobilizing the Marines. I see lots of our friends are here. Jet is here. Kelly is here. Invisible Man, good to see you. Good to see you. It's kind of interesting every time I say that, like Invisible Man, good to see you. But invisible, how can I see invisible? But hey, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here. A viewer named Glass is asking me, what are your views on Donald Trump? What do you think of him? All right. I think you'll understand my views of Donald Trump if you just hang out here with us for a little longer. You'll understand my views on Donald Trump. All right. So stay here. President Trump made the absolutely correct decision of deploying National Guard and mobilizing the Marines. And Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, I don't know what your views are about Pete Hegseth, okay? Different people have different views. But let me tell you this. From my observation, this is my opinion, Pete Hegseth, if you saw him speaking during the congressional hearing that took place earlier in the House, it was in the House, a House hearing. When you hear Pete Hegseth speak, when you listen to the things he's saying and the way he is conveying his message, the tone of his voice, you know that he's very, very confident. And that is something that we need in a Secretary of Defense. We need confidence. Now, go back to the days of the Biden administration. There were people in the Biden-Harris administration. I don't know if you want to call it a Biden administration or you want to call it a Biden-Harris administration, whatever words you choose, however you want to address that administration, Biden administration or Biden-Harris administration, doesn't matter. You pick your favorite way to address them. But one thing is true. In the Biden administration, there were people who did not know what they were doing. There were a lot of people in the Biden administration who were clueless. Okay, they were put in those positions of power, but they did not know what they were doing. And inefficient people. A lot of those Biden administration officials were detached from reality. They did not understand the priorities. They did not understand the public's sentiment. They did not understand what the average American person wants. They did not understand how to address issues. They did not understand the importance of timelines and deadlines. So there were many people in the Biden administration who were absolutely clueless, just people sitting there enjoying positions of power, not doing the work required okay? And just somehow spending time, and this is a problem with leadership positions. If you put the wrong people in charge, okay? If you put the, I mean, an administration is massive. There are all these agencies, there are all these cabinet secretaries and deputy secretaries and advisors and other political appointees. If you put people in charge, people who have no clue what to do, they just sit there collecting paychecks, enjoying their time in positions of power, and not really delivering, um, not really delivering results. And so in the Biden administration, there were many people who had no clue what they were doing. And in many cases, I think Joe Biden did not know what was going on. I mean, there are many questions about that. Like, did Joe Biden really know what was happening? And that's a whole new discussion that we're not going to get into today. There are many questions like, okay, a lot of those decisions that were being made by the Biden administration, was President Biden, was he making those decisions, or were other people making the decisions for him and he just didn't know what was going on? Whole new discussion. I'm not going to get into that. But coming back to the current administration, Pete Hegseth, he's a very, very confident man, and he knows exactly what he is doing. Pete Hegseth understands the priorities of the Defense Department. And, the biggest priority, let me tell you what the biggest priority is. It is to keep people safe. Do you agree with me, my friends? The biggest priority is to keep people safe. Didi is here. Hello, Didi. Good to see you. And Teresa is here. Teresa Ross. Good to see you, Teresa. Gianna is here. Hi, Gianna. Claudia Greenwood says, I agree with you. Thank you so very much. Thank you. My friends, please make sure that you're liking this video because it helps us reach more people. So Pete Hegseth knows what he is doing. He understands the America First agenda. He understands what needs to happen to make America great again. And Pete Hegseth understands that the most important priority is to keep people safe. And so we have more and more resources being allocated for defeating the rioters and the troublemakers in Los Angeles. And then the reaction that we see from the left, it is just shocking. It is shocking, my friends. And tell me what you think. I think it's shocking when you see the reaction from the people on the left, okay? At a time like this, one would think that the elected officials of California, the elected officials in California, most importantly, the mayor of Los Angeles and the governor of California, at a time like this, one would think that the mayor of LA, Karen Bass, and the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, they would thank President Trump. Instead, Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom are complaining. They are complaining. They're not happy. And I heard Mayor Bass during her news conference that just took place a few hours ago. She seemed extremely unhappy because of President Trump's actions, because of President Trump's intervention. It's very, very clear that the Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD was overwhelmed. LAPD was facing such a crisis given the riots and the property damage and the graffitis and all that and the screaming and shouting and throwing stuff over the last few days, LAPD LAPD couldn't control it. LAPD couldn't address the situation. I mean, it was just too overwhelming. And without the National Guard, the LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department, would not have been able to handle the situation. So anyone who thinks that, oh, LAPD could have handled everything, it was just enough LAPD and maybe police resources from nearby communities and the sheriff's department, they would have handled everything and everything would. No, no. Without the National Guard, without the National Guard, things would have gotten completely out of control. Completely out of control. And things were out of control. And then President Trump brought in the National Guard and then things started heading in the right direction, and still a very active situation. It's a very, very hot environment right now in LA. The problem's not over. It might take days or weeks, who knows? But the National Guard is playing a very important role, and it's helping tremendously. And instead of complaining, what Karen Bass should be doing is to express gratitude. Mayor Karen Bass should be grateful. But instead, she's complaining. She's not happy with President Trump's decisions. She's not happy with President Trump's actions. Let me tell you what is going on exactly. I want to tell you what is going on. Do you understand this mindset that Karen Bass has? I have been paying attention, and here's what I think is going on. I think it's an issue of turf. It's a territorial issue. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm going to explain this. I'm going to explain this. It's a mindset that Karen Bass has that prioritizes her turf, her area of jurisdiction. Okay? Karen Bass, quite likely, and this is just my analysis, given my observation and the facts that are in front of me, Karen Bass feels that the president has intervened in her territory. She probably feels, oh, why did the president take action? This is my city. This is my area. I'm supposed to be the boss over here. Whatever is going to happen, I am going to do it. I think that's the mindset that Karen Bass has. And the fact that the president came in and he ordered the troops, the National Guard soldiers to be deployed, I think that just that probably made Karen Bass feel like, oh, I don't have enough power. It was that realization. I mean, there's a lot of power if you're the mayor of a city, especially a city like Los Angeles. There's a lot of power, obviously. I mean, if you're the mayor of New York, if you're the mayor of Chicago, if you're the mayor of Los Angeles or Atlanta or Dallas or Miami, big cities, lots of people, cities that are known globally. I mean, you go anywhere in the world and you ask them, hey, do you know have you ever heard the name Los Angeles? Have you ever heard the name New York? Yeah, people will say yeah. I mean, no matter where in the world you live, unless you are totally disconnected from society, if you're totally disconnected from information that spreads around the world, if you're like living in isolation and you have no idea what's going on in the world, you have no idea about countries and continents, that's different. But most people, almost everyone knows that Los Angeles is a city. It's a major city. Not just in America, but in the world. Okay? And so being the mayor of Los Angeles is a very powerful position. But with power comes responsibilities. Okay? I mean, power is such a thing that you cannot misuse it. You cannot use it too much. You cannot use it too little. There has to be a proper balance. If you have a lot of power, political power, government power to solve problems, and you don't solve problems, you just sit in a position of power, not do anything, you're not using the power to help people to improve lives, then what's the use of having the power, of having the authority? And then if you're using your power too much all the time, then the power gets exhausted. Not everyone can handle power, okay? But let me tell you, being the mayor of Los Angeles, it's a powerful position. And that's why it was important for Karen Bass to take swift action, to take strong action when the first elements of riots started. Okay? I mean, and Karen Bass she has been in politics. She has been in government for a very, very long time. She's not a newcomer. I mean, she's a fairly new mayor, but in the political world, she's been here for a very long time. So she knows what is going on. And when the first elements of riots started gaining momentum, she should have taken strong action right then and there. She should have mobilized whatever available resources there are. She should have focused on partnership with state and federal level. And, state level, that would mean Gavin Newsom. He's another very highly incompetent individual. So we're not going to go into that discussion right at this moment. We'll talk about that soon. But, Karen Bass should have taken action. She should have taken decisive action so that President Trump would look at it and say, "Oh, there are certain elements that are trying to start riots in Los Angeles, but you know what? Karen Bass, she's doing great. She has everything under control. She's doing whatever she's supposed to do as the mayor, being in that powerful position. So, all right, great. They'll handle it." That would have been ideal, but when people realized, the general people as well as President Trump realized that Karen Bass cannot handle this. She doesn't have the she's not doing what a real leader, a mayor should do in LA. And so President Trump just couldn't wait. He had to take action because Karen Bass was failing. And so now, instead of expressing gratitude, Karen Bass is complaining. And going back to what I was saying, it's an issue of turf. Karen Bass just probably feels that, oh, this is my turf. Why did President Trump send troops? Why did he take action? Well, that's because Karen Bass wasn't taking action. Karen Bass wasn't doing what was necessary. So that's just my analysis, and you can let me know if you agree or not. By the way, let's see who's here. Tenacious is here. Hi, Tenacious. Good to see you. We have our friend. Okay, we have our friend Marjorie. Marjorie is here. Marjorie, good to see you. Give me 1 second. I'm going to bring the microphone closer. Um, who did I miss? Anyone else here? Ken is here. Ken, good to see you. And there are others who are tuning in. All right. By the way, do you agree with what I said? Oh, Tangerine is here. Hi, Tangerine. Our friend Tangerine just joined too. Um, Eric is here. Hello, Eric. Joyce is here. Hello, Joyce. All right. Evelyn says absolutely agree. Thank you so much. Thank you, Evelyn. Um, so my friends, Dan is here. Dan Decker says I agree totally. Thank you, Dan. Um, okay. Okay, Marjorie, thank you for being here. Marjorie is our friend from Canada, and Marjorie is trying to catch up on all the updates. So thank you, Marjorie, for being here. Tangerine says I totally agree. Thank you, Tangerine. So let me continue. So this is the turf mindset. Like, oh, Los Angeles is my turf, and no one can do anything here except for me. But the thing is, the mayor was not doing what was necessary. She was not doing what was necessary. And um, let me tell you, keep in mind that Karen Bass is the mayor of Los Angeles, but Donald Trump is the president of the United States. Karen Bass is the mayor of LA. She's the mayor of a city in a state out of 50 states. And Donald J. Trump is the president of all of America. So when President Trump sees that there's a crisis and it's just going to get worse and worse, he has to take action to address that situation. And that's what he did. And I think this entire episode, and it's not over yet, it's still ongoing. This entire episode, it has made Karen Bass feel that she is not in control. And control is something that the Democrats desperately want. We know that. The Democrats, they want to be in charge. They want to be in control. They want power. But like I said, if you don't use your power to help people, what's the point of having power? What's the point of being in a position of power? What's the point of having a lot of authority? What's the point of being in charge if you're not taking the right action at the right time to improve lives, to save lives, to ensure peace? Any normal person would say, whenever there's an issue, let's say you in your personal life, okay? I mean, we have problems, right? In our lives. I mean, that's part of being human. We want life to be perfect, but life is not perfect. There are problems. There are issues that we have to deal with, big issues, small issues, certain issues that take minutes to solve or hours, other issues that might require months, years to solve. Okay. So, in general, if you are a person, you're facing a problem, there's a problem in your life, you're trying to deal with it and you can't, and you realize, you know what, it's too big of a problem, I can't solve it, I need help. What would you do? You would ask for help. Okay? Whether you're reaching out to a parent for help, whether you're reaching out to a sibling for help, whether you're reaching out to a doctor, whether you're reaching out to a lawyer, whether you're reaching out to an advisor, depending on the nature of the problem, the nature of your concern, is it a health issue? Is it a financial issue? Is it a legal issue? Is it just a personal issue? You need some advice. Depending on what your concerns are, what your issues are, you would reach out for help. If you can't solve it on your own, you're going to reach out for help. You're going to say, please help me. I need this. And there's no shame in that. There's no shame in that. Even the most powerful people on this planet need help. Okay? I mean, it's once again, it's part of being a human being. We're not self-sufficient. We're not, you know, um, like completely able to do everything on our own. We need help. So a normal person would say, "Oh, there's there are riots that are starting in my city. Uh, I, as the mayor, I'm trying to solve the problem, not working out. I'm going to reach out for help." Who would you reach out to? You would reach out to the governor, and in this case, Governor Gavin Newsom. He's a complete failure. Would you reach out to the president? Yeah, the president's the one taking decisive action. But for a Democrat like Karen Bass, it seems like she doesn't want help. Even as riots become more intense, she wants to hold on to her territory. She wants to be in control. She's not gonna seek help. There's no shame in asking for help. And in government, you have your authority, you have your jurisdiction. If the problem becomes too big, you have to ask for help. That's how it works. But Karen Bass, for her, it's all about her territory. Doesn't matter how intense the riots become, doesn't matter how much of property damage takes place, no matter whether the local police can handle the situation or not. She just wants the federal government to stay away. She just wants the federal government, meaning the Trump administration, to not do anything. But that's not how the general people think. You talk to the people of Los Angeles, and I know that we got friends who are from Los Angeles, or maybe not Los Angeles, but surrounding areas, other places in California, who watch these live streams. You talk to the general people, they're happy that President Trump sent National Guard soldiers. They're happy that President Trump is trying to solve this crisis. They're happy that President Trump is there to keep people safe. You talk to the general people of Los Angeles, they're not happy with Karen Bass. They're happy with Donald Trump. It's because of Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and their intervention that there's hope that these riots in Los Angeles will come to an end. Might take a while. Who knows? We don't know. Lots of moving parts, lots of uncertainty, so we don't know. But at least people have that confidence that the Trump administration is going to take whatever action is necessary in this regard. Okay? The general people of Los Angeles are grateful for President Trump's intervention. And as I said, the problem is not over yet. It might take days or weeks. Who knows how long it might take to ensure that the crisis comes to an end. And there's one more thing. I think a question comes up that, how long will the National Guard be there? If the Marines are deployed, how long will the Marines be there? Let me tell you, the federal government should never say, they are here for a week. They are here for 15 days. They are here for a month. No. Because um Because if the federal government announces, oh, the National Guard's there, but they're going to be there for only a week, then what happens? The evil forces, the troublemakers, they know, oh, National Guard's going to be there for a week. They know, then they know what is going to happen. After a week, the National Guard's going to leave. And so the troublemakers and the evil forces, they just retreat, and they sit in silence, and they wait for the National Guard to leave. And that is why it should never be announced for how long National Guard will be there. If the Marines are deployed, for how long the Marines will be there. It should never be announced ahead of time. It's just like common sense, plain and simple. It's a poor strategy if someone says, "Oh, we deployed the National Guard, but they're going to be there only for 10 days. That's it." You cannot say for how long they are going to be there. For as long as it takes. As long as the crisis is there, as long as the problems continue, the resources will be there, the personnel will be there. So you cannot really publicize a deadline for deployment. Okay? And regarding turf, as I mentioned in the case of Karen Bass, it's the same way that Gavin Newsom feels, the governor of California. I think he feels the same way. He feels like, okay, this is my state, this is my turf, this is my region, this is my area, this is my territory, this is my jurisdiction. I'm the governor, so we don't need the federal government getting involved. But keep in mind, the situation on the ground is still very, very hot. And things would have been much worse if the president would not have taken action to send the National Guard and to mobilize the U.S. Marines. Okay? The situation would have been much worse. Yes, it's still hot, but the situation, the property damage would have been much bigger, much more widespread if President Trump would not have taken the actions that he took. And I listened to Karen Bass's news conference today. I don't know if others have listened to that news conference. Did anyone listen to Karen Bass's news conference today? Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, she had a news conference. Did you watch that? Did you listen to it? Or even short clips? Tell me. Tell me, my friends. By the way, I have a poll question that you can see. The poll question is, the mayor of Los Angeles and the governor of California have failed in their jobs. Do you agree? If you agree, you're going to click yes. If you don't, you're going to click no. Um, so just make sure that you're answering the poll question. So, my friends, I listened to Karen Bass's news conference today, and she said very clearly that many businesses were looted. Okay, so many businesses were vandalized in Los Angeles. And think about all the people. Think about all the hardworking people whose businesses and places of work were impacted by the rioters. Okay, the looters and the vandals and the rioters. When they vandalized businesses, when they looted businesses, think about the people who work in those businesses. Think about the people who own those businesses. Think about the people who have invested in those businesses. Texas Repo is here. Texas Repo, good to see you. Thanks for being here, Texas Repo. Anyone else? Anyone else who's here who I have not greeted yet? I apologize if I missed someone. I apologize if I missed someone. Thank you all for being here, my friends. Uh, we got other viewers. All right. Um, so as I was saying, think about all the people who have been severely impacted, their businesses, their places of work, their jobs, their investments have been severely adversely impacted because of these riots. And also, Karen Bass talked about the graffiti, the damage caused by all the graffiti. She talked about it. You probably have heard it if if you watched the news conference, if you've been paying attention. Oh, Michael is here. Michael says, I'm not sure if you greeted me. All right, Michael. Bill is here. Hi, Bill. All right. Where's our friend Michael Brown, by the way? Where's our friend Michael Brown? Is Michael Brown here? Isabella is here. Hi, Isabella. Isabella says, good evening. Bill, good to see you. Bill from Vegas is here. So we got our friends from Vegas. We got Bill. We got Evelyn from Vegas. Eric, thanks for being here. By the way, my friends, please like this video. Hit the like button. Please give this video a thumbs up. I would appreciate that. Just give this video a thumbs up, my friends. Please do so, okay? Your support is very much necessary. And the way you can support this channel is by subscribing. You subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video, okay? All right. All right. Give me 1 second, my friends. 1 second here. All right. So Karen Bass talked about the graffiti, the damage caused by all the graffiti. Now, how much money is going to be required to clear all that graffiti, to repair the damage caused by all the graffiti? I don't know. Is there an estimate for that? I don't have any idea. How much money is going to be needed? How much money is going to be needed to clean all that graffiti? I mean, remember, the World Cup is coming up next year. And so much of graffiti, so much of damage. It is unbelievable. Okay? Now, there's a curfew in place right now in downtown Los Angeles. Okay? According to reports, it's a 1 square mile area, but it's obviously dense. Obviously dense. Downtown Los Angeles, dense area. There's a curfew in place right now. Okay? I think the curfew goes from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. maybe. I don't know. From evening to early morning. Okay, you can look at the exact time, Pacific time. There's a curfew in place in Los Angeles right now, 1 square mile of area, and the curfew already started at 8 p.m. Pacific time. And I was looking at some news reports, and I saw that even with the curfew in place, there were people still out on the road. There were people. And give me 1 second. Okay. Um, there are still people. So there are folks out there who are defying the curfew. They're defying the curfew, and the situation usually gets more heated as it gets darker. After sunset, as the evening gets longer, as night falls, uh, the situation gets more intense. And Gavin Newsom also had a publicized address on TV. Has anyone seen that? Have you seen that? Have you seen that, my friends? Tell me. Gavin Newsom had a public address. It was like an address to the nation, although he's a governor, he's not the president, but his video was sort of an address to the nation. It was just a little strange. Uh, and most of it was about blaming Trump. Okay, that's what most of the Democrat speeches are. It's just Trump did this, Trump did that, blame Trump, blame Trump. That's all they do. That's all they do. Derek is here. Hi, Derek. Good to see you. So Gavin Newsom, he's very, very desperate about raising his profile. He's trying to be more visible. He's not just in California, but nationwide. He's trying to be more visible. He's trying to be out there. He's trying to get publicity. And so this address to the nation sort of video uh, that he published, it's pretty obvious that the guy wants to run for president. Gavin Newsom wants to run for president. I think each and every day it's becoming more and more obvious. Now, this is in about what he wants. Now, is he going to be successful in his in a presidential race if he decides to run? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he wants to run. He wants to raise his profile. He wants to be more popular. He wants to be more widely known. He wants to be on TV. He wants to be out in front of the people. He just wants people to pay attention to him, and he wants people to look at him as a presidential candidate who might be uh, you know uh, who might appear at the top of the Democrat presidential ticket. I think that's what he's hoping for. I mean, he cannot run for re-election for the office of the governor because of term limits. So his next option really is to run for president from the Democrat side. Tommy Brown is here. Tommy Brown, so good to see you, Tommy Brown. Thank you for being here. So Gavin Newsom, I think he wants to run for president in 2028. Uh, who knows? I'm just giving you my analysis. I'm just sharing with you what I think he wants to do. Obviously, I cannot read Gavin Newsom's mind. I can only draw conclusions from his words and his actions, and that's what I'm doing. But let me also tell you that if he wants to run for president, that opportunity seems to be slipping out of his hands. The recent California fires and Newsom's failure to address that crisis, and now the riots in California, once again, Newsom's complete failure. And then instead of thanking President Trump, Newsom is complaining. He's opposing President Trump. He's complaining about President Trump. And then Newsom's record of failures throughout his time in office as the governor so far, if you look at all that, the conclusion that you can draw is that there's really no way that Gavin Newsom is going to get the nomination to be on the presidential ticket from the Democrat side. I think the Democrat Party is going to make sure that they do not put him on the presidential ticket for 2028. Yeah. I think after the fires and after these riots, the Democrat Party is going to try to find somebody else to be on the presidential ticket and not Gavin Newsom. Okay. So now I want to talk about another growing problem. There's another growing problem, which I'm going to talk about. Remember, President Trump said paid insurrectionists, the people, the agitators, the troublemakers, the evil forces out on the streets, out on the roads, causing havoc, causing disturbance, affecting people's lives, vandalizing, looting. I mean, paid insurrectionists. These are paid insurrectionists. And look at what is happening in Chicago, not just Los Angeles. In Chicago, there are protesters. In New York, things are getting heated. Things are getting heated in New York. Things are tense in Chicago. And many people are afraid that this may spread. It may not stay in Los Angeles. These riots may spread in New York, in Chicago, in other parts of the country. As we are approaching summer, there's a genuine fear among peace loving, law abiding, freedom loving American citizens. There's a genuine fear among American citizens that the forces of evil may start more riots in other cities and states. And so it is essential for elected officials, including mayors and governors, and of course, President Donald Trump, it is essential for the leaders to be proactive. To be proactive, make sure that you're proactive in taking the right actions needed to prevent a riot. Okay? In New York, by the way, Paul is here. Hello, Paul. Craig is here. Craig says, make sure you inform yourself. Craig, what are you talking about? Inform myself about what? I am informed. I'm informed about the topics that I talk about. All right. So, in New York, Mayor Eric Adams made it very clear that protests can be peaceful, must be peaceful. He made it very clear that protests must be peaceful. People have a right to protest, but no property damage, no chaos. Protests must be peaceful. Violence will not be tolerated. Mayor Eric Adams made that very, very clear. And I'm very happy to hear Mayor Eric Adams make that declaration. I have criticized Mayor Eric Adams on this channel a lot. You go back and listen to my previous videos, and you'll see that during live streams and in podcast episodes, also probably, when I discussed immigration, when I discussed the migrant influx, the migrant crisis, when I talked about New York City being a sanctuary city, when I talked about all those illegal immigrants getting free housing and debit cards and lots of other taxpayer-funded benefits in New York. Those illegals were getting lots of services in New York City. I talked about all of that, and I criticized Mayor Eric Adams. I've heavily criticized him, and all of those are on video, so you can go back and listen to them. You can replay the videos. You can listen to everything that I said. You can go point by point and see and hear why I criticized Mayor Eric Adams, and you can go back and listen to all that. But you know what? I'm also it is always my goal to present to you accurate information, to present to you the truth, and which is why I'm going to tell you right now, Mayor Eric Adams has changed quite a bit. If you have been paying attention to Mayor Eric Adams over the last few months, you know that he has changed. He has met with President Trump. He has met with Tom Homan. He is, when you listen to his words, he sounds like he's more reasonable. He's talking a lot of common sense, which if you go back months, that was missing. Okay, that's just my observation. Mayor Eric Adams, I think he's going through some transformation, and I think he's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to do the right thing. So, do you agree with me, by the way? Do you agree with me? Oh, Charisse is here, right? Charisse, are you here? Mm, we got a viewer named James Bond. All right. Okay. I don't know if that's the real James Bond. All right, but we got a viewer named James Bond. All right. Uh, Bond, James Bond. Um, what can I say? Who else is here? Cherise is here. Hi, Cherise. Good to see you. Delbert. Delbert is here. Hello, Delbert. All right. So, as I was saying, Mayor Eric Adams, I think he's trying to do the right thing. I'm not going to say I agree with him on everything because I don't, because he's on the left. All right. I mean, he's starting to embrace common sense. He's trying to say more reasonable things, but he is still on the left. Okay. He's not a Republican. He's not a conservative. Mayor Eric Adams, is he a conservative? He's not. Is he a Republican? He's not. So, although I think he is working in a more friendly fashion with the Trump administration, but he is still on the left. And so I'm not going to agree with him on everything, but I'm going to, give him credit when he does the right thing. So Mayor Eric Adams made it very clear that protests can be peaceful, must be peaceful, and that there's not going to be any room for violence, no tolerance for violence. Violence will not be tolerated in New York. So if rioters think that they can show up in New York and damage property and do all kinds of chaotic stuff, violence will not be tolerated. Eric Adams made it very, very clear. And the people of and the and NYPD, let's talk about NYPD. What a fine organization. What a fine agency. New York Police Department, hardworking people, brave people. They want to protect and serve. NYPD, we love NYPD, and um, I think NYPD is ready to take the action that they'll have to take, uh, or actions they'll have to take. I don't know. I'm not a law enforcement officer, but I'm sure that the officers of NYPD, they know what they have to do if somebody tries to spread chaos. Okay. So, my friends, um, it's a strong message from Eric Adams when he says that violence will not be tolerated. And NYPD has seen what happened and what is still happening in Los Angeles. And so NYPD will be ready and prepared. And I'm confident that they will take whatever actions are necessary to fight lawlessness. And by the way, NYPD is great. As I've said before, it's a great organization, an excellent police force. Okay. And in addition to the big cities, there are elements of protests in other places around the country. Right here in Wisconsin, there was a protest in Milwaukee. There were hundreds of people. I don't know how many hundreds, were there 200, 300? I don't know. I don't know the exact number, but there were hundreds of people reportedly, those who participated in the protest. And so far I have not heard of any reports of violence in Milwaukee. Okay, so I think there was a protest, but I think for the most part it was peaceful. I don't know. I haven't seen all the news. I have to go through all the news and all the videos. I was busy watching what was happening in Los Angeles and what's happening in New York, so I have not paid as much attention to Milwaukee this evening. But I'm gonna read the news updates, and um, I'm gonna find out, okay, what happened in Milwaukee. Um, during the protest. But I have not heard of any reports of violence, and hopefully there was no violence. But local police agencies must be alert. I think it's important for the mayors of cities to be on high alert. Law enforcement must always be ready. I think the community must be ready to make sure that uh, if there's uh, if there's a problem, if people are trying to sow the seeds of chaos, that you know chaos is prevented. Okay, chaos, violence uh, must be prevented. Must be prevented. Okay, property damage must never happen. Okay, so let's see. Okay. All right, my friends. So that's pretty much all I have for now. Uh, let's see. Audrey Ann is here. Hi, Audrey. Good to see you. Good to see you, Audrey. Audrey is our friend from Long Island, New York. All right, my friends. So that's all I have for now. What I'm gonna do now is, I mean, it's already late. It's past midnight, so I'm gonna try to get some sleep. But you know what? I drank a cup of tea, and so I'm gonna be up for a little while. I'm going to go watch the news. I'm gonna watch the news from Los Angeles. I'm gonna watch the news coverage coming from New York. I'm gonna pay attention to what's going on, and let us just pray. Let us pray for the law enforcement officers. Let us pray for the elected officials who are trying to do the right thing. Okay, I mean, there are elected officials who are big failures, like Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom, but there are elected officials who genuinely want to work hard to do the right thing. So let's pray for the law enforcement officers. Let's pray for the National Guard. Let's pray for the military service members. Let's pray for the Marines. Let's pray for anyone who is trying to spread peace, anyone who's trying to stop chaos and lawlessness, anyone who's trying to make sure that there's peace, lasting peace. Let's pray for our President Donald J. Trump and his administration. They are doing great work. And let's just pray and hope that law and order will be restored and that lawlessness will come to an end. So, my friends, thank you all for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please subscribe if you have not done so already. Please subscribe, share this video, like this video. That's how you can support this channel. So, with that, I'm going to conclude this live stream. But before that, hey, listen, there's one more thing I need to do before I conclude the live stream. Remember, I'm conducting a poll. There's a poll question that is out there. A lot of people have answered. Maybe a lot of people have not answered yet. I'm going to keep it open maybe for 30 more seconds. So if you have not answered the poll question, please do so. The poll question is the following: the mayor of Los Angeles and the governor of New York have failed in their jobs. Do you agree? The choices are yes and no. Two choices, yes and no. If you think that the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, and the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, if you think that those two individuals have failed in their jobs, click yes. Just say yes, they have failed in their jobs. If you think they have not, then click no. All right. I'm going to end the live chat. All right. End poll. End the poll, not live chat. I'm going to end the poll. 159 votes. 73% have said yes, the mayor of LA and the governor of California have failed in their jobs. Yes, 73%. So people overwhelmingly are saying that the mayor of LA and the governor of California have failed in their jobs. Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom have failed. That's what most people think, okay? So I agree with that. I think they have failed completely. They have failed miserably. So, my friends, thank you all for tuning in. May God bless you all. May God bless our President Donald J. Trump. May God bless the Trump administration. May God bless the Republican leaders in the House and the Senate. May God bless our military service members. May God bless our law enforcement officers. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless our U.S. allies. And may God bless freedom loving people all over the world. My friends, thank you so very much. Have a wonderful night. And I'm going to be back again soon with more videos and more live stream. Have a wonderful night, my friends. And remember, together we will make America great again. Thank you, my friends. Have a great night.